market on Bitcoin tried to get over it, and it couldn't. It stalled out. We fell. We now bounced. Now we're kind of falling again. So for me, that was a line where I would say if we got above and stayed above, the low of 15.7 is probably the low. We haven't done that yet. So I'm not convinced that Bitcoin has bottomed. And in fact, even though there's so much bullishness out there on crypto, I would just remind people that if you go back to 2018, 2019, there were bounces that were bigger than this bounce in Bitcoin, right? I mean, we had a $3,500 low on Bitcoin. We then went near 10,000 before retracing to 3,500. That's almost a 3x, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it's a great bounce, but it's not abnormal for a bear market. This is with Bitcoin. It was looking real weak over here in March, and then we got the banking crisis, and that really gave new life to Bitcoin, right? And again, you're seeing today some issues with the banks. Bitcoin's bouncing a little. It's not getting much of a bounce, but the one positive, and again, even though I'm overall negative over the next few months on it, the positive is the banking crisis just lends more credence to why you need Bitcoin, why you need cryptocurrencies to be able to get away from these banks and what they're doing and the risky bets they're taking, and have your money secure in something like a Bitcoin. So I think longer term, at least.
The banking crisis is still intense. In the past 48 hours, 2 more banks had a big stock crash, when the Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, and even Credit Suisse were hit. That increased fear in the traditional banking system and helped Bitcoin thrive as a safe place to put money in. Since more collapses may happen soon, will Bitcoin get another pump and finally break the 30,500 resistance level? It has been hovering down around the 28,000 level for a few days without any significant moves. Let's hear what Gareth Soloway from InTheMoneyStocks.com and VerifiedInvestingCrypto.com has to say about the current Bitcoin price action. Not only that, but in this video, he will also go through other altcoins like Ethereum, XRP, and even Cardano, so pay close attention until the end to find out if there are hidden opportunities here for you to profit from all these upcoming moves. First, what's Gareth's outlook for macro and the S&P 500?
So with the bearish comments, that's more related to the equity markets. I continue to be net bearish on Bitcoin as long as it hasn't gotten through that 30,000 level. But one of the things, and I love showing this chart setup here, I want to show you guys this to see if we can take a look here. So if we look at this chart, this is the monthly chart of the S&P 500, and we see this long bullish move, right? Just continual move up, then this bigger pullback, and then this kind of little bit of upside consolidation. And what I want to do here is I want to bring up a chart with you guys. It's called the psychology of the market chart. And if I bring it up here, and let me try to pop it in here and bring it up. So what we can see is that look at this move up. See that move where we hit euphoria, we pull back, which is the pullback from late 2021 through 2022. And then look at what we've done over the last 6-12 months compared to what we've done here in this, or what this chart shows. This is that complacency period. And so what you're talking about is maybe it being a worse recession than the Fed is leading us to believe. That correlates perfectly with this chart. So again, you have the cycle of optimism to belief to thrill to euphoria, then the drop. Then this is where people are starting to believe that the bullishness will come back before the cliff dive to the downside. And again, just going back here real quick, look at how this correlates. Look at the up move, look at the pullback, and look at that sideways chop. So to me, the next move on this chart is going to be the nastiest on the S&P 500. It's probably going to take us down sharply, 3,000 on the S&P, a no-brainer to me, maybe even lower. But again, I would be prepared for the equity markets at least to have a big fall. For me, this would be a worst case scenario. This would be like the all-out depression retrace. But this is the 2000 high, and this is the 2007 high, right? And one of the things and the reason why I have this trend line in, and I don't want to make people freak out too much because I'm not necessarily calling for this in the near term, but in a worst case scenario, generally when markets break out, and we could see the breakout occurring right here, and it just continues up. Usually when you break out of a level, you retrace to that level before going higher. This never retraced because the Federal Reserve was jacking drugs into the system, i.e. quantitative easing. So it never got the chance to fully retrace. So what this tells me is that if you really get the Fed to be sidelined, you could actually head back to that level, which would be an over 50% decline from current levels. And again, that's the worst case scenario, but I think it is a possibility before all is said and done within the next few years.
Since Bitcoin usually gets dragged down with the S&P and tech stocks, what is Gareth's Bitcoin price prediction from what he sees in the charts?
The big level I've been watching is this 30,500 level, and this level goes all the way back. I'm going to get rid of this level here. So if you go back to the beginning of that mega run up in early 2021, then we had that collapse where we hammered on this level here. We then went up, and then we actually bear flagged before breaking down. So the 30,500 level to me is that line in the sand. The market on Bitcoin tried to get over it, and it couldn't. It stalled out. We fell. We now bounced. Now we're kind of falling again. So for me, that was a line where I would say if we got above and stayed above, the low of 15.7 is probably the low. We haven't done that yet. So I'm not convinced that Bitcoin has bottomed. And in fact, even though there's so much bullishness out there on crypto, I would just remind people that if you go back to 2018, 2019, there were bounces that were bigger than this bounce in Bitcoin, right? I mean, we had a $3,500 low on Bitcoin. We then went near 10,000 before retracing to 3,500. That's almost a 3x, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it's a great bounce, but it's not abnormal for a bear market bounce cycle. And again, just looking back at past cycles in Bitcoin, this isn't super unusual. One of the things that is unusual, and I'll say this, is that the bullishness, and like again, when you're seeing Pepe and some of these other meme coins that are just appearing out of thin air and running so massively, that's not the sign of a healthy market. It's not the sign of a bottom. It's usually the sign of a top. Think back to what we saw with SHIB and Dogecoin in the heights of 2021. That was towards the highs, not the lows, right? And so investors need to just be aware that it's not showing you that we've really bottomed out and we've flushed out. It's showing you that there's still too much hopium in the system, and we probably still have another leg lower to go.
Let's have a quick look at what's happening with the altcoins before going back to final considerations on Bitcoins.
Yeah, so Ethereum, so the first thing that pops out to me when I look at Ethereum's chart is the difference between it and Bitcoin, right? So we've seen in Bitcoin where it made this 30,000, the 30,000 high was the high. Here in Ethereum, it was about 2,150. We then had a pullback, and then we kind of retested 30,000. Ethereum never did that. And so the first thing that tells me on Bitcoin versus Ethereum is that Bitcoin is seeing a little bit of extra money flow from the banking crisis, while Ethereum is really not seeing much of that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you have a very clear bear flag here. We started to break lower. You still have support here at 1,800. But if this 1,800 gives way, you're going right to 1,700 and then eventually to 1,500. So for me, looking at this is much more of a bearish chart to me. Bitcoin to me also has downside, but it's not as bearish as the Ethereum chart. Again, the judge's ruling could set a precedent for other coins out there. And so in general, a positive ruling would absolutely ripple through the rest of the cryptocurrency industry. Now, just looking at the chart, it's a tricky chart right now. I mean, you had this beautiful breakout. We can see this is what we refer to as a bullish pattern. It's sideways consolidation to slightly lower, and you can see the channel. It's a beautiful channel. When that broke, that kick-started the bigger move up. We then look at where we went to, though, right to this high here, going back to September of 2022. That's where it stalled out, pulled back, tried to retest, then rolled over, kind of came back to this high here, and is just kind of hovering above it. So to be honest, when I look at this chart, I don't see a lot of signals in it. It's kind of like a mixed bag. It's not really bearish. It's not really bullish. It's more just a neutral chart that is not giving us an inkling of positive or negative. There's not a whole lot here based on the chart, right? I mean, you're hovering above this area, but even if we broke, we have this area down here, and then you're hovering below this high. So you're kind of in between support and resistance levels, which again, almost weirdly makes sense because everyone's just waiting for this either positive or negative decision. So it makes sense that it's kind of like in between. There's no signals being given yet. And essentially what's amazing is the judge's ruling hasn't slipped out, because again, I'm pretty confident that decision has been made. There's just a gag order there. And again, just from the simple aspect of how long does it really take for someone to make a decision if you're a judge and you've had now 8 months, 10 months, a year, 2 years, whatever it's been a little ridiculous. So they're just holding this back until they get more clarity with the CBDC, and then obviously with the regulation as a whole for the space before it's released, I bet. I'll just share with you here a little chart on Cardano here. So there's a little bit of a cross section right here on a trend line, right? So if Cardano pulled into 34.5 cents, that would be a dual technical support level there. And then resistance remains at this high. And then we could always just look at Matic. Matic's been remarkably weak. So, you know, when we've seen Bitcoin hitting highs, when we've seen a lot of these other coins popping up, Matic was struggling. And you can see even here, it was hovering on support and is now broken. So to me, I would get interested on Matic at around 76 cents. But I think it could go down there. And that's a decent drop, you know, from some 96 cents to 76 cents. But that would be where I would start stepping in as a swing trader to buy Matic.
Are you buying any of these right now? Let us know in the comments below. We would love to hear your portfolio distribution in 2023. And to close this excellent interview and how this banking crisis can still affect Bitcoin's prices, this is Gareth's point of view.
And I will say this is with Bitcoin, you know, it was looking real weak over here in March, and then we got the banking crisis, and that really gave new life to Bitcoin, right? And again, you know, you're seeing today some issues with the banks. Bitcoin's bouncing a little. It's not getting much of a bounce, but the one positive, and again, even though I'm overall negative over the next few months on it, the positive is the banking crisis just lends more credence to why you need Bitcoin, why you need cryptocurrencies to be able to get away from these banks and what they're doing and the risky bets they're taking, and have your money secure in something like a Bitcoin. So I think longer term, at least, it's a very positive thing for Bitcoin.
No, I agree.
Thank you so much for watching. If you want to get notified every day with the latest updates inside the crypto space, please leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our new uploads. See you tomorrow for more daily crypto.